let's get it rolling. Mr.
Sure.
Hunt, you teach video production and recording arts at Harkness.
Yes, correct.
Ta-da! So we're here. Awesome. Can you give us a description of your program?
Sure. So it's a 2-year program over at the Harkness Career Center by the airport in Cheektowaga. What I've done with the class is we primarily just do video production, like short films, or video for a purpose like commercials, public service announcements, things like that, and recording. But what we've done with the program is we've created like 2 tracks within the class. So if you're more into, let's say, the video side of things, you'll have the opportunity to just really spend your time doing video work. If you're more into the audio side of things, then you're going to spend most of your time working with recording equipment. So if you have an interest in both, then obviously you can do both things too. Why it's important to kind of have a good idea or at least an awareness of both sides is because you never really know where your career is going to take you. And if you're already working, let's say, with a client in the recording studio and you have some kind of idea for video and they're talking about they want to do some video content online, or they want to create a music video, or they need their concert filmed, whatever it is, and you have some of those skills, you already have that relationship with that client on the audio side of things, and that can lead into more jobs, more opportunities for you. Same thing with the audio side, with the film side. If you're working on a video shoot or a video project and one of them is talking to you in a conversation and they mention that they're in a band, or maybe they need some voiceovers cut for the commercial you're working on, you're the audio person too, so you're able to do both jobs for them. And honestly, when people work in these types of jobs and careers, they're going to want to stick with someone that they trust and someone that they already have a relationship with. Because normally you're working together pretty closely. Sometimes it could be long days meaning, 10, 12 hours. It's not always like that, but, it can go to that length at times. And obviously you want to spend that time with people that you trust, you get along with, you can joke around with, etc. So to circle back to the original question, we spend half of our time with video or film, and we spend the other half of our time just doing recording. Both of those things don't necessarily mean we're spending just time on recording music. It could be we're doing audio for games. It could be surround sound for film. It could be commercial audio for the radio, things like that. It's not always going to be music or creating beats. However, that is a big part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love the model of your class and how it's a creative class in itself, but I love that kids can really, students can really dive into what they want to do, and if they apply themselves, they can make it whatever they want, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So, when we talk about projects, if it's a homeschool project, from your homeschool, like a book report or a research paper, what does a project look like in your class?
Well, a project could be, let's say, on the film side of things. If you're creating your own film, you would start off by creating, a story arc. Once upon a time, things were happening, and then this happened, and because of that, this happened, and finally gets resolved. Mm-hmm. Then you would create your characters, you would create your script, you would create a storyboard, which looks like a comic strip, essentially, of what the different camera angles would be. Then you would try to cast your film. Could be with people in the class. It could be people at home. Could be a mix of the two. That's going to be up to you. Then you would shoot your film or film it, bring back the footage, edit it, add your sound effects if you have to do any kind of Foley or, recreating the dialogue, scoring the music for it. That would be a project. That's not going to be a project that you would do in a week, right? Like that could be something that could last the entire year. Mm-hmm. An example of an audio project that we did was I showed the students how to use the iPad or their phone to measure a room. And then they researched different acoustic treatments and the cost of those treatments. And then they were able to create a 3D model of that room that they chose and see what those acoustic treatments would look like in their room. and they understood like why you would have to isolate sound. So that room could be, again, maybe a space that they use at home that they use to record their own music. Could be something that they use at home when they're creating beats. Could be this space here. It's, you know, I try to make it where if you're doing something, there's a purpose for you. It's not just, hey, I woke up this morning and I needed to do a project, so everyone's gonna do this. It's like I try to make it where it's relevant to you, it makes sense to you, and it's helping you get closer to hopefully working in the field, because this is an interesting field. It's not like, let's say, the normal job where you start off at one place. I worked at McDonald's for a while, right? So it's like, okay, you work at McDonald's, so new guy, you're going to make the fries today. I like had to work and make fries, and then, you know, if they thought I was good at making fries, I got to make, you know, the hamburgers, and then they could whatever, and you kind of like worked your way up to the counter. You didn't just start off as the manager or the line manager or whatever. It's like you started off as this one part and move on. Where in the audio side of things, either you're the audio engineer or you're not. You know, it's not like there's, well, we need the mic setup person. It's like, no, the audio engineer is going to do that. So you're kind of in that job. The video side of things or the broadcast side of things, that's a little different. You're going to start off as a PA, which essentially is going to be waiting around and be told what to open, what to, you know, set up, things like that. And then you move up to camera operator, director, producer, etc. So try to make all the projects where they can be some kind of a portfolio piece that you could show potential clients.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And like have value.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So I did not know that you had worked at McDonald's, and I don't know if that was just an example or if you actually worked at McDonald's.
No, I don't. Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
I find your like your repertoire of jobs and places you've worked to be wildly impressive. Can you take us through it really quick?
Sure. So originally, I thought I was going to go into more broadcast. So when I was in high school, they had like a media arts class there where you had to go on an internship. And I started actually working at Channel 2 when I was a junior in high school, on the weekends doing the 6 and 11 newscasts, again, just as a camera person or a PA. So I started working there, and I kept my relationships there on a positive side, of course, because you never know when you're going to bump into people again, or what your you know, life is going to take you, different places like that. And then I went away to college, and I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston, and I got my degree in music production. And I was going to go actually work in New York City, but at the time, my wife and I, we just had our daughter, and we were only married for about, I don't know, 3 months or so after I graduated. And I came back here to Buffalo and worked for a studio that's now GCR Audio on the corner of North and Franklin Street. And the person that owned that studio hired me, and you know, I had a staff job, quote unquote, but it's kind of funny. Like at the time, I was only getting paid like $640 a month total, but on top of, obviously, if I worked with bands, I would get paid by them to work with them in the studio. So again, to kind of like make ends meet a little bit, try to get some extra cash, quote unquote. I saw that WGRZ Channel 2 was looking for a morning production assistant for the morning show, which was fine because you didn't have to get there till 4 a.m. and I was done by 9, which gave me the time to work at the studio during the days and everything and to catch up on some sleep. But I worked there at GRZ and Trackmaster for a while. Then the owner of Trackmaster moved out to Las Vegas. So he has his own studio out there. He does most of the music for the Ultimate Fighting channel and all that stuff.
Oh.
And then my wife and I opened our own studio. So this would have been back in '98, I would say, in the same spot. Then we decided to move the studio to a different location in Black Rock. So 71 Military Road is where it was. And then in 2000, I was hired by Disney, and we moved down to Florida, and I did audio and some stagehand work for Disney down in Orlando. And then in 2002, we were kind of missing the north and all that good stuff that happens up here, like the snow and
I was going to say the snow.
Yeah. And luckily, I found out that Robbie Takik, who I'm friends with, he was going to open a studio up here. And I connected with him, and we moved back up here to Kenmore at the time, and we opened up his Chameleon West Recording Studios, which is on Allen Street. And again, starting a new business, getting things going, you kind of need that cushion. So then I was working, again, I was circled back to Channel 2 again, and I was doing some fill-in work over at Channel 2 while I was working at the studio. And then, let's see, I'm trying to think when it was, 2002, 2004. So then, the studio was going well. I was working with Robbie Takik and John Resnick on their album Let Love In, which was, again, I'm not sure when that was released, but we did all
the Goo Goo Dolls for anyone that doesn't know.
We did all the songwriting down the road, and then we moved all of Robbie's equipment out of that one space, Chameleon West Recording Studios, back into Trackmaster, which is actually where he and I met when I was about 15 years old, because he would record all like the punk bands at nights on the weekends and things like that. And that's where he and I met. But he and John Resnick decided to start this GCR Studios, which was back where Trackmaster was, which is where I originally started working as an engineer. We moved over there. And, I still record bands on the weekends. I play in a couple of groups. I play bass, guitar, piano. I don't do too much video work at this point, but I still do it, obviously. And then I've been working here at BOCES since 2007.
I find your resume to be like ridiculously impressive, so that's why I've been asking you to share that with everyone. So if you needed to know that Mr. Hunt is wildly qualified to teach this class and knows what he's talking about, there it is. But I think it goes to, it also illustrates your point that you never know where you're going to end up with an industry like this, and you can go round and round. So a big part of your curriculum, circling back, is to know at least a little bit of both sides of the coin, right? So video to sound, sound to video, you're going to need to invest at least a little bit of time into both parts.
Yeah. And the other thing too is just because my experience doesn't mean what I say is law by any means, right? Like everyone has different experiences. There's different ways of doing anything, and there's not necessarily like a right or wrong way. If you take Taylor Swift, for example, right? Like she won Music Video of the Year when she was 13 years old, and she did it with iMovie on her little MacBook or whatever. So it's like you had all these big directors, Spike Jonze, whoever, doing these, hugely expensive music videos, but who won? This 13-year-old girl that did it all herself with the iMovie,
Right.
So everyone has their own talents, their own passions and way of doing things. That doesn't necessarily mean just because what I did is, more important than anyone else. However, I can probably give you some good advice.
Yeah. I would listen to you. So you mentioned Macs and everything. Obviously, you work on Macs in the classroom. Can you talk a little bit more about the equipment that you guys get to interact with?
Sure. So I can kind of turn it around here. So
yeah, that's the classroom.
Yeah. So I'm in the classroom here, right? So I'm sitting on a row here. There's 8 iMac computers that go down this row, which you can stand at if you want to, or you can sit. All of the white tables that you can kind of see, the white areas back there, those are all, you can write on those. So if you're writing ideas, those screens over there is where you could actually sit with a group of 4 or so students, and you could, put your video up on the screen so you can all watch it and edit, not have to crowd around one screen. On the other side, which you can't, through those doors, is our little studio. And it's actually larger than this classroom, so it's not little, but it's larger, and you can do all your filming in there if you want to. There's a large green screen. There's a whole recording setup in there, so you could record a full band in there if you wanted to. We recently have put in for some surround speakers. So now we're going to be able to actually mix audio in 5.1 surround sound if you want. And then there's a whole lab for like electronic musicians. I've got like all these analog synthesizers, drum machines, things like that. So there's 360 cameras to do VR production. We have Pro Tools, which is the industry standard software that everyone would be using for audio. If you want, there is the opportunity that you can get certified in Pro Tools, and there isn't another high school in the area that is doing that. There might be a high school in Rochester. I don't think so, but like we're the only ones that are offering it in the Western New York area. And you can actually get certified in the 100 level, which is the user level, and then the operator level, which is the 200 level. And then they have a little side course where you can get certified in Pro Tools for game audio. So as I teach you that software, if that's something that you want to do, I can help you get to that path and take those exams, which are no cost to you. Those are all totally free. If you were to take it, it would be like $1,500 a class. Again, there's no cost to you, so you'd be saving about $9,000.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And you get to leave high school with that.
You get to leave high school with that. It is a industry standard certification.
I didn't realize that was part of your. Cool. I didn't realize that was available to your students. That's really cool.
Yeah. So for audio, we use the Pro Tools software. For video, we use Final Cut. Mm-hmm. If you've never used a Mac before, that's fine. You don't have to be like a big Mac user. If you don't like using Macs, that's okay. We use Macs here though. If you do have your own device and prefer to bring that, you're more than welcome to bring your laptop in if you would like. Trying to think what else we have. Oh, we have a surround sound mic that we use that now we're going to be able to use now that we have the surround speakers that are going to be set up. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we do a lot of stuff, and there's no experience needed. You don't have to know anything about it other than you like movies or you like music, or that's it.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
If you needed any prior knowledge to come into your course.
No. Nope. You don't need to know anything about it tech-wise or whatever, just that you like it and you're interested in possibly working in that field. Mm-hmm. For juniors, we do a little bit where I want you to know at least a little bit about, let's say, again, you're more of the video person. We will get you to doing a little bit of easier audio stuff just so you have an understanding of the two and you can flip-flop between those programs. But then you'll be doing the more complex video stuff where the audio person, again, might get their video skills on iMovie only, and then they'll move into the Pro Tools stuff. However, if you want to do both, you can do both. I know in the last session, you guys, one of the people that was here asked about what happens with COVID nowadays or what goes on here. So what I've been doing with my class is obviously the assignments are online, but when the students are here, and class sizes this year have been obviously small. This afternoon I had one student, so it's like, what do you want to do? Let's do that today. So it's like if we had the same kind of situation, let's say going into the fall, and as you said, Anna, hopefully we aren't, but if we did, and there's 3 of us in this room, then I would say, what do we want to do today? And if it's, well, I want to record a song, and then we're going to record a song. I'll show you how to do that. Or if it's, I want to put together a news show. Okay, we'll put together a news show. So it's almost like I look at this opportunity as time, for me to kind of really give each student more attention and see what they want to do. And it's really like this, even though we're going through like some weird times right now, this is like a big, huge opportunity for you to come in for 2.25 hours, whatever that means, twice a week, 3 times a week, and, sit here and get to learn all this equipment that you don't have to share with anybody.
Right. I mean, it is amazing that you walk into your room and you don't have to wait your turn. You don't have to hope to get a laptop. You don't have to race to your classroom to make sure you have a seat. You go in and you sit at your Mac and you work on your projects with all of the software. I mean, it's a dream. It's like coming into a professional space.
Right.
So we do have a question. If I'm only taking 1 year of the program, which courses would you recommend I take? So this is a tricky question. And it's tricky because typically our programs are spaced out to be 2 years. And it's not unheard of that if you are a junior now and you are going to spend your senior year with us, it's not uncommon that you take the intro course. I don't want to call it the junior course, but it would be the year one of the program, and that's for any of them. However, here's the tricky part. The tricky part is that a lot of times your senior core classes that you have to take to graduate at your home school, I'm just going to pick, if you go to Hamburg, I don't know. If you go to Hamburg, you have to take like participation in government to graduate. I think you might have to take economics. It depends. Those are typically scheduled around seniors attending in the morning. So they might be in the afternoon. Those courses that you would have to take to graduate might be in the afternoon of your day. And if you were going to take the first level of a program, it is in the afternoon. The junior class is always in the afternoon and the senior class is in the morning. So I'm not going to give you a straight answer, because the answer is it's not impossible for a senior to take the intro level the first year. However, it depends on your homeschool scheduling. So I would still talk to your counselor and see if scheduling will fit. We do have a few senior year only programs. Those are our New Visions programs. New Visions is going to be having an informational evening on January 27th. However, there's only 3. You do have to apply for them, and it's Zoo Wildlife Conservation, Connections Health Careers, and the Legal Academy. Unfortunately, also, another thing about the New Visions programs is you need to have your own transportation because they are off campus. The zoo program is actually held, the classrooms at the Buffalo Zoo. The Connections program is at the hospitals around town. And the Legal Academy is actually, I believe, at Canisius and Hilbert. So, Mr. Hunt, is it often that you have a senior taking the intro the first year of your class?
It has happened.
Yeah.
It has happened, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm thinking about that now, it's almost like I would try to, not that I would do something totally different with the senior, but sometimes we do that certification stuff between the 2 years.
Yeah.
But there's no reason why the seniors couldn't do it all in 1 year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So
I would almost be like an independent study, I guess, that would be happening in the class.
That's actually a really cool option when you think about it.
Yeah.
I think your class, Mr. Hunt, would actually fit into I don't want to say it fits into a 1-year model because you have so much to learn and so much to do in your class, but you're still going to get a ton out of your class in just 1 year, as opposed to maybe just laying super like fine level groundwork so that year 2 you can do the fun stuff. You walk in and you start doing the cool stuff right away.
Yeah. Try to, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, not that there's not a learning curve, but still you get to work on a lot of stuff that, you don't have to wait, I guess is my point.
Yeah. And you know what, when you say the learning curve, the one thing that I think is interesting is that the video side of things has a little more of instant gratification, I think, than the audio stuff, because not that one's easier or less involved than the other one, but for video, you take your camera, you film what you're going to film, you connect it to the computer, you can see it in the computer, and you can quickly add titles and do all this other stuff. Where if you're recording, let's say you have to set the microphones up on the snare drums and do the drums, are they in tune? Now you got to take time to tune the drums, and you got to get the right take, and you got to edit it, and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like and I'm more of an audio guy anyways, but it's more like the audio side of thing is more tedious, as Mr. Beeger will probably, as he just joined in, he'll agree with me on that one.
So here's another question. Does a student need to be musically inclined to be interested in the music stuff?
No, not at all. You just need to be interested, really. It's like you just have to be interested in video or interested in audio and show that interest to your coworkers, your colleagues, your friends, and you will succeed. For example, when I was at that Chameleon West Recording Studios, we had this sophomore in high school contact us to intern over there, which he did. Mike Brylinski was his name. And he would come by the studio instead of, going out or whatever his friends would normally do. And he would just come in and just kind of like sit in the back and watch the sessions happen and ask questions when the sessions were over. So he was learning how to like when to ask questions as opposed to during the session, this, that, and the other thing. And then we started giving him, this more simple sessions or the ones that we wouldn't want to do. For example, people used to have to audition to sing the national anthem at baseball games. So they would have to, submit a recording of themselves singing that. And then if they got picked, then they would sing it at the actual ballpark, so they could hear how they would react to hearing themselves through the large PA. Or maybe you had to edit some music for a dance company or a cheerleading squad, whatever. It's like those are all parts of the job that aren't necessarily the most glamorous parts of the job, right? But something that you have to do. So we started giving him those things. And then he ended up doing some other sessions, maybe singer-songwriter stuff or whatever it was. And I was working with this band. And it just came up where I just couldn't really work with them, not because I didn't like them, but I was getting too busy with other things. And, I said, hey, Mike, why don't you do this project, right? So he ended up doing, I think this band was called Cute Is What We Aim For. So he did their first record, and they were kind of like a big, I don't want to say like an emo band, but they were kind of like a big indie band at the time, maybe back in, again,
like 2007, like when I was in high school, they were definitely an emo band, Mr. Hunt. They were definitely a band that I think I had that album.
So yeah, so I was recording them, and they were called Cherry Bang, and they were all like kind of like kids from St. Joe's Collegiate Institute and all that stuff. And some of them left, some new members came in. Sean still stayed and sang, and that became the Cue Is What We Aim For group or whatever. But Mike Brylinski, again, this high school student who had an interest in recording, and he didn't play anything. So that was the whole point of that, that long story, is that he didn't play anything. He didn't know how to play anything. And here he is doing this Cues What We Aim For record that last. And then he went on to, when I moved on to things for a while, he ended up becoming the studio manager at GCR. He moved out to California and was kind of like the touring Goo Goo Doll Pro Tools guy, and I think now he's like creates apps or something ridiculous. But it's like, he just kind of like moved around, but he didn't know how to play anything,
That's encouraging.
He just knew how to be the good hang, as Jay Beager is going to say.
That's right.
He showed interest, and that was it. And that just kind of lifted him up. Because it's such a weird business. It's like you hear these stories where, you have these people that are working hard, not that people aren't working hard, but everyone's working hard. And it's just because you answered your phone on a certain day, you're recording John Lennon. There's that whole story of like Al Schmidt or whoever it was. It was Joey, what's his name? Iwine, or what's his name? He's always like someone that they bring in on American Idol to be like a coach for a week or whatever.
Jimmy Iovine.
Yes, exactly. So he was home.
That guy, I watched a documentary about that guy.
He was home, Easter Sunday or whatever, and he gets this phone call. Hey, can you come in and answer the phones for us at the studio? I was like, yeah, I guess. I have to tell my mom I can't stay home for Easter dinner. And he goes there, and hey, you know what? The person that was going to engineer is sick. We need you to engineer the clients in the room. It's like, well, who is it? It's John Lennon. Okay, well, and then because he does John Lennon's session, he does everyone. Because if you work with John Lennon, you must be good. Right. So you never know. It's like one of my weird calls when I got was, again, it was over at Trackmaster or whatever, and I answer the phone, Trackmaster Audio, and it's, who's this? It's like, this is Mark. Who am I speaking with? Like, this is Jerry Lewis. I'm like, I thought it was a friend of mine, but it was Jerry Lewis. He was in town doing Damn Yankees at Shays.
He was legitimately Jerry Lewis.
Oh yeah, literally, yes. It was the dude. And what happened was he saw some piano player in Niagara Falls, Ontario, and he loved how the guy played his jazz piano because he wouldn't stop. I guess he wouldn't play a song and stop, play a song and stop. He just played, and he would go from all these different jazz greats. I don't know much about jazz music, so you know, he would just play these songs. It was like instead of playing a song, a song, a song, a song, he would play for, I guess, 2 hours, and he would slowly move into these other artists. So, anyways, Jerry Lewis, he brought him in to Trackmaster to record piano, and he was going to take those piano tracks back to his production company in Vegas and try to do some kind of deal with them. But yeah, I mean, you never know who's on the other end of the phone. Who knows?
It might be Jerry Lewis.
Might be.
I love that. Well, that's Mr. Hunt. That is our 30 minutes, but I could listen to you talk about the industry and like stories like that all day long. Literally.
And I'm sure Mr. Beeger is going to have some that he can talk about as well as Mr. Matamore.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to do the shameless plug. So, Mr. Hunt's video production and recording arts class is only offered at Harkness. You have two junior classes between you and Mr. Estrada, right?
We have 2 junior classes, 2 senior classes. So we normally cap our classes at 20 each.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Theoretically, for the first year program, the junior year program, whatever you want to call it, there's 40 seats and it fills up really quickly. So I'm going to encourage you, if you are interested in hanging out with Mr. Hunt and making some really, really cool stuff for your junior and senior year, or just your senior year, depending, let your guidance counselors know so that they can get you signed up. January 4th is when we open our registration for our courses. And you want to it's based first come, first serve. There's no application process for our CTE programs. So make sure that on that January 4th, if you know you want to commit to the program, that your counselor gets you in there on the list. Anything else?
Well, I just have a quick question, and maybe I'm just going to take a guess here. So, Rebecca, do you happen to be related to Ryan Lindahl? I had a Ryan Lindahl back from Hamburg, so I didn't know if maybe you were cousins or brothers.
Are you from Hamburg? Did I guess Did I guess right? Yeah, psychic through the computer. Check me out.
All right.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, it's a small world. Maybe they're related and they don't know it.
Who knows?
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Hunt.